Hi, my name is Kyle Kneppel from Group 2, and our presentation is on the topic of roundabouts. A roundabout is a circular intersection in which drivers drive counterclockwise around the center of the island. There are no stop signs or traffic signals. There are only yield signs in which drivers have to yield for oncoming cars. Roundabouts are easy and safe to use and are faster than a conventional four-way intersection that requires drivers to stop and have traffic signals and traffic lights. When it comes to the cost of a roundabout, it is easy to see why building a roundabout is cheaper than a traditional intersection with traffic lights. Roundabouts eliminate the need for maintenance and the electrical costs associated with traffic signals. The maintenance cost, the maintenance can cost anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 per year, and building a roundabout could save the DOTs in a bunch of states a lot of money, which can help them put that money towards something else. Roundabouts are also more effective during power outages as traffic will continue normal in a roundabout, whereas if there's a traffic light, you'd have to convert that to a four-way stop in a normal intersection. To construct a roundabout, the national average is about $250,000. And to put in a traffic signal, it can cost anywhere from $250,000 to $500,000. To add on to the $5,000 to $10,000 in maintenance per year. So you can see it is a lot cheaper to make a roundabout than a conventional four-way stop. Not only do roundabouts save money, they also save the amount of time that drivers have to wait in traffic. Drivers are only required to yield, so this is faster than a traditional intersection. This also means that the intersection can hold more traffic in the same amount of time. At Kansas State, they measured the amount of traffic flow of a normal intersection and then the traffic flow of a roundabout intersection. And they found that installing a roundabout led to about 20% reduction in traffic delays. Another study by the IIHS, which is the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, found that roundabouts contributed to an 89% reduction in delays and a 56% reduction in vehicle stops. To add on to that, 3 roundabouts were measured in Maryland, Kansas, and Nevada, and the IIHS found that roundabouts that replaced the conventional four-way stop reduced vehicle stops 14 to 37% and reduced vehicle delays 13 to 23% in those states at specified roundabouts. So it's easy to see that roundabouts are faster and a lot more efficient than a normal intersection and will reduce the amount of stops or yields that a driver has to make, and they will reduce the amount of time that a driver has to spend in traffic. Traffic signals in a roundabout are not a problem, and they are very easy to read when driving around and very efficient. And roundabouts save a lot of money and save a lot of time.
Hello, my name is Alec McDowell. To continue this presentation on roundabouts, I will be discussing the safety improvements roundabouts provide, as well as the downsides of roundabouts. As seen on the graph provided on the slide, large reductions in injuries and fatalities come from the application of roundabouts, as well as reductions in overall collisions. This reduction comes from the number of vehicle and pedestrian intersection points on the roundabout versus a typical intersection, which uses a stoplight. As seen in the image on the slide, roundabouts have only 8 vehicle conflict points and 8 pedestrian conflict points. This is a large reduction from a typical stoplight, which has 32 vehicle conflict points and 24 pedestrian conflict points. This decrease in conflict points accounts for a 37% reduction in overall collisions and a 40% reduction in pedestrian collisions. There is also a 90% reduction in fatal collisions and a 75% reduction in injuries from collisions. This comes from how the nature of the collisions are changed, because in a roundabout, drivers must slow down to travel around the roundabout, whereas in a typical stoplight, drivers can speed through the intersection, especially trying to beat a yellow light and running red lights. It also changes how crashes usually happen. In a typical stoplight, half of the 32 conflict points are either T-bone or head-on collisions, whereas this is almost always avoided in a roundabout. Most roundabout collisions are either to the side, 2 cars traveling the same direction, or just fender benders. Because of the aspects of the roundabout, they are much safer than a typical stoplight intersection. Even with a high increase in safety in terms of roundabouts, there are still a few cons to consider. One con that must be considered is semi-trailers and other large equipment which are passing through the roundabout. These long, wide vehicles may have trouble navigating through the roundabout efficiently. This is definitely an aspect to consider depending on the location of the roundabout. In a rural area with a lot of farming going on, many tractor trailers and other semis will be passing through the roundabout, hauling loads from the farms. And this is definitely not something that they want to deal with traveling through the roundabout. In a city, it is much more applicable with smaller vehicles passing through the roundabout more efficiently and safer. Some other cons to consider come from driver errors and inexperience rather than the roundabout itself. Many drivers in certain areas where roundabouts are not common may have trouble using them properly and following the yielding procedure of the roundabout. This may lead to collisions that would not happen if they had proper understanding. Also, drivers in a hurry may speed through the roundabout too fast or cut the roundabout in the wrong direction to save time. So if they want to turn left, they will travel the roundabout in a clockwise direction to get there faster rather than traveling all the way around in a counterclockwise direction. With proper driver use of the roundabout, these cons are eliminated. And as seen so far, the pros of roundabouts appear to far outweigh the cons.
With so many benefits to roundabouts, there have been many that have been being built in recent years. The construction process for roundabouts is very interesting because they're much more difficult to build than normal intersections with their curved lines, and they need extra lighting, signing, and pavement markings to make sure that everybody knows what to do and can do it safely. One unique feature to roundabouts are the truck aprons. These aprons are used for the trucks to make make tight turns in the roundabout. And the design of them is very important to get right because if they're too tall, if their edges are too harsh, then truck drivers will avoid them. Also, if they're too low, it'll end up having other cars go faster than they should have in the intersection because of the psychology of it. And there's many different things that can go wrong in the construction, such as the alignment of the lanes, the lane widths, the radius of the entire roundabout in general, and it can really have a negative impact of safety if it's different than what the designer intends. The staging on roundabouts has a lot of options. There's three major options for the staging of roundabouts. They can have full traffic go through them during construction. They can have partial traffic or no traffic at all. Generally, throughout the stage of a roundabout construction, it'll go through multiple of these stages where they may have full traffic at the beginning of the project to get things set up and then have no traffic to get the main portions of the roundabout done and potentially partial traffic as they're paving the lanes and have potentially a right turn open or two or like a half roundabout open. It depends on every single project. A project has to make sure that they have proper signing and pavement markings no matter what they do, because this will let people know exactly what and what they cannot do in the project, because it would be very dangerous for people to go past how far they were supposed to drive if they were driving in a half a roundabout and they decided to take a left turn, for instance, putting the construction workers at risk. So making sure that they have proper lighting is very important to avoid these types of situations. Maintenance of roundabouts is another big concern. Snow removal is a unique challenge that a lot of maintenance crews haven't worked with before. So one of the important things is to make sure that the design team talks with their maintenance staff to make sure that they have proper dimensions on the roundabout for the plows that would get used on the roundabouts because if the plows are too big, they can have trouble hitting the curbs and the truck aprons in the roundabout. Also, it's important to remove excess snow from large snowfalls because this can get in the way of stopping sight distance and make it so drivers won't know what decisions to make because they don't have the foresight to see if there's cars or pedestrians walking. Also, pavement maintenance is very similar to the staging of a normal construction of a roundabout.